Today, I want to talk about a number that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the 7. What's up? Welcome back to another day of learning and exploring the world. And the 7 was just on my mind today. When I'm recording this, it is the 25th of the month, and 2 plus 5 gives 7. So the 25th reduces to a 7 energy day. And I was thinking on it and pondering on it and thinking about my own personal experience with the number 7, what I feel when I think about the number 7. And I was like, let's dive into expressing what I know about the number 7, exploring the topic, and just doing some learning today. So if you're ready to learn with me, grab a water, hydrate yourself, and let's get into the number 7. All right, so 7 is one of those numbers that kind of shows up everywhere. It's on our calendar, it's in spiritual systems, it's in mythology, astrology, tarot. It's a very prominent number. Even religion has tons of 7 themes. And whenever a number keeps repeating across different systems, it usually means it holds a very deep symbolic meaning. So today I was going to explore the topic of the number 7 through a couple different things. The origin and symbolism of it, the numerology of it, astrology of it, the tarot of it, spiritual systems, and why this number feels so connected to wisdom. It's a number that I personally get a lot of downloads and messages through, and a lot of these systems I personally utilize in order to expand my knowing and wisdom of the universe and myself and how I am connected to this beautiful web of life. So let's start with where the number 7 shows up. Everywhere, but you can think of it as places that you see the number 7 being utilized. There are 7 days in a week in the calendar system that we utilize. And 7 traditionally is the visible number of celestial bodies. So in ancient astrology, if you included the sun and the moon, which are luminaries, and some people don't like to call them planets, I know they're not, but like with them included, there are 7 traditional celestial bodies: sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. 7. So there's 7 classic planets in traditional astrology. When we go more modern, that's when we start using Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those are our outer planets. They were discovered later. There's 7 primary chakras in the body going from the crown down to the root. There are 7 notes in a musical scale. That one's a cool one. If any of you play instruments or, or learn how or know how to read music, let me know in the comments, because that's always something I want to do. I always tell myself I'm a musician, but I don't play anything. So I obviously need to put some practice into that. So any tips would be great. There are 7 colors often named in the rainbow, and there are 7 seas, and so many spiritual and religious references to 7 as a complete or sacred number. So before we define it, 7 already carries a lot of pattern, a lot of cycles, a lot of completion, and a lot of sacred structure. It feels like the number that connects the earthly to the spiritual. So when we think about the 7 symbolically, so the origins and symbolic meaning, right? It often carries the feeling of something becoming deeper through reflection. If 1 is the spark and 2 is the duality, 3 being the expression, 4 the structure, 5 is the movement, and 6 is the harmony, then 7 feels like the moment where the soul pauses and asks, what does all of this mean? It's the reflection back on everything. The 7 turns outward experiences into inward understanding. That's why 7 often feels connected to wisdom, solitude, research, contemplation, spiritual seeking, mastery, and inner truth. It's not the loudest number. It's the number that withdraws a little bit so it can understand what's real. What does the 7 mean in numerology? I love numerology, and my numerology fans out there. And let me know if you're a life path 7, soul urge 7, expression 7. I want to know what your interaction is with the number 7 when it comes to numerology. Personally, I have a maturity number 7, so one day we'll go in and explain that. But I always know that for me to be my most aligned and when I'm in my most developed state as a human, experiencing like my full adulthood, it's when I am in 7 energy or experiencing 7 energy. So a lot of solitude for me when I need to reflect and understand what's going on in my life and going on around me. But in numerology, the 7 is the number of wisdom, introspection, study, depth, intuition, spiritual knowledge, and inner searching. 7 energy wants to know what is beneath the surface. It asks, why is this happening? What is the hidden truth? What is the deeper meaning? And what can I learn from this? 7 is often associated with the thinker, the seeker, the mystic, the philosopher, the analyst, and the researcher. Everyone who is looking to explore the themes of understanding and knowing what's around them. The 7 is such an observant energy. It's the number that gains power through understanding. And because of that, 7 can sometimes seem private, observant, quiet, skeptical, or difficult to fully know, not because it has nothing to say, but because it wants to make sure that what it says has truth in it. So if you think about the number 7 and people, think about the people that you know in your life. Does anyone seem really private, observant, quiet, skeptical, or difficult to fully know? You should figure out if they have a 7 dominant in their numerology, if they're holding a lot of 7 energy. And it might not be in their like big 5 numerology numbers. It might be a maturity number. It might be a lesson that they're learning. It could be a pinnacle that they're experiencing. There could be something that's holding a 7 energy that's causing that person to express or to not express and behave in that way. So, do you know any 7s in your life? So, it's not because 7 doesn't have anything to say, but it's because they want to make sure there's truth in it. So, now that we've wrapped up the 7 in numerology, let's move on to 7 as just a single digit, a double, and then the 777, one of my faves. So, when you see just the number 7, it carries basic essence of the number. It's the number of the inner wisdom. It's the number of spiritual reflection, truth seeking, and quiet understanding. I love when the sun comes and shines on me. It feels so good. I don't know who else is just like, oh, it's so good. It says, go within, reflect, study, and listen. Now, when you see 2 7s together, a double 7, so 77, you're going to see the energy amplified. Whenever numbers start multiplying, they're amplifications of the energy. So this can feel like a stronger call to spiritual understanding, a deeper need to trust your own inner knowing, repeating lessons around wisdom and discernment, and intuitive confirmation. 7 feels like the universe's underlying message. So be mindful of your environment symbolically. If you're seeing a 7 or a 7, there could be a message that symbol is trying to awaken in you. And remember, when you're looking at numbers that you're seeing in your everyday life, the best thing to do is when you see the number to reflect in that moment of what was I just thinking about doing and experiencing as I see this number, because usually that's a lot of what the message is trying to deliver to you. So 7 says, pay attention. There's something important here for your soul to understand. And we love that. We love a message. Now, my favorite is the 777. I have a deep personal connection with this number. I have a 777 necklace and I wear it quite frequently. I went through a phase where I wore it nonstop for like 6 months because I was working with the energy and I felt so called to it. And now I kind of put it on when I'm feeling like having just that introspective reminder. I love looking in the mirror and seeing it and being mindful, right? Everything that we wear is a reminder. Everything that we surround ourselves with is a reminder of something. It's a reminder of an experience, a reminder of a goal, a reminder of a message. So adorn yourself with numbers sometimes. And if you're wanting to be a little bit more introspective and spiritually supported and things like that, maybe get yourself a 7 necklace or a double 7 or a triple 7, whatever calls to you, or any other number. So back to the 777. This can symbolize deep spiritual support, being on the right path inwardly, wisdom unfolding, confirmation through inner truth rather than outer proof. And that was one of the key reasons that I started wearing the 777. I was coming to a place in my life where my inner truth and my knowing was no longer in need of anything outside of me to prove it. I was feeling so connected to my intuition and myself, and so guided and led by all of the support that I personally look to. So if you're looking to be supported by things, 777 is a wonderful one from my personal experience. So you try it for yourself. The 777 feels like the inner doorway through opening consciousness. It says, keep going, trust what you know, your inner understanding is developing. We love that. So what does the 7 mean in astrology? In astrology, 7 has an important connection. First, in traditional astrology, there are the 7 classic planets, which we listed: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. I had to look down. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes that I wrote out to keep me on pace, so I don't make this video so egregious, because I can go on a waffle tangent, okay? In my sidereal chart, I have a Mercury and Gemini, so the girl can gap. So the notes help me stay on pace and give me structure. It's Saturn. I love it. And it's a discipline practice for me. But don't let me get off track too much. Let's go back to the 7 in astrology. So the other theme that comes up with astrology and the number 7 would be the 7th house in astrology. This is the house that represents partnerships, relationships, marriage. A lot of people say contracts, which is, to be honest, just a agreement between two parties, which is relating to something outside of you, making a merging. It's a merger. I would say a merger is so good, but that's also what a marriage is. It's a merging of two people into a documented relationship. It's the 7th house is the other. It's, if the first house is the self and the I am house, the 7th house is the other and the I relate house. Okay, so how we meet others through, oh no, I just said that wrong. I don't know, not meet others. How we meet ourselves through another person is what happens in the 7th house. I'm looking at my screen and I'm so bright. Is that really, okay, I think that's better. Hopefully that looks better. That was crazy. I felt like I was like glowing in a wild way. The sun hit different, so I had to bring it down, the saturation. Hopefully that's good. If it's too dark, we'll find out once I edit this. I'm still going to post it, but we'll find out. Making videos every day is wonderful for my learning, because I grow so rapidly because I'm constantly producing content and learning from my experience. Okay, back to the 7th house. Because numerology, 7 often feels solitary and inward. It's interesting that the 7 in numerology is so about the outward and the other person, and it's so relational. So it's like, what ties those two themes together? And the answer is reflection. 7 is the number of reflection, and the 7th house is literally the mirror of the self through the other. So even though you're experiencing connections and relationships with others outside of you in the 7th house in astrology, and in the 7 number in numerology or in other spaces, it's more introspective and looking within. You're still getting that insight from things outside of you, and you're taking it within to understand you. So the 7 is the number of reflection, and the 7th house literally mirrors the self through others. So we love that. The first house is the house of self. The 7th house is the mirror. Everything is about you in this world. And once you realize that, you're able to actually serve other people so that they can be fulfilled in being about themselves too. It's not about being indulgent and not kind or considerate towards others, but it's about understanding that the self comes first. You put your mask on first before you put it on someone else's so that you can serve someone else. And the first and seventh house introspection will show you that. So the seventh house is a mirror, even though it's always about relating and things like that. It is relating to understand the self. You see the self through others. That's why Libra, if you're a Libra rising energy, you come in with Libra rising. Libra's in your first house. Your seventh house is Aries. One of the big missions in your life is to learn how to see yourself through the relationships and the interactions that you have outside of yourself, and know yourself and be confident and stand up for your truth. It's beautiful. It's beautiful energy once you realize like how everything is interconnected, and the seven can show you the way. It goes within and it lets you know. So the seven energy in astrology can connect to the wisdom that comes while life reflects something back to you through another person. So if you keep finding that you're in similar relationships all the time, it's maybe because that relationship and that theme keeps coming up through these people so that you can learn a lesson. So once you learn the lesson, you're going to move on to the next level. So if you don't like the people that you're in a relationship with, you need to start realizing what it's trying to tell you about you, not about them. And then you're probably going to fix it and move through it and grow through it. And then you don't have to be in relationship with those people anymore. And you can be in relationship with what you are. Remember, it's the law of attraction again. You attract what you are. So if you want something different and you don't like what you're attracting, you only can look in the mirror and make the change with yourself first. I literally go back to Man in the Mirror so many times in my life. And that's probably the fourth time I've come back to it this week, which is wild. Okay, anyway, we keep going. So, planetary references. If we speak symbolically, 7 often feels very connected to Neptune. Though mystery is something about Neptune, the intuition, the spiritual searching that Neptune brings, it feels very 7 energy, right? 7 also is very connected with Saturn. The themes of wisdom, maturity, and discipline, and through understanding. It takes a lot of discipline and maturity in order to go within the self and take the time to be with self in order to understand, right? You need to take the space for yourself. And if you're so used to just being there for everyone else and not taking time for yourself, you're actually not really disciplined in yourself. You might think that you're very responsible because you take care of others, but if you're taking care of others and sacrificing yourself, it's not going to win. You're either going to go down and then those people aren't going to have anyone to care for them, or you're going to give and it's going to be all taken from you and nothing will be poured back in, right? We want to give from full cups, not empty ones. These are just my personal opinions. You can give however you want to give, okay? You can give however you want to give. I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live their life. We're just exploring themes, but this is how I feel. I give nothing of myself unless I have it to give. I just went crimson again. Oh, I keep having to change it. Hopefully it's not too dark. It's a little dark. I don't know if it's doing the same thing for you, like as I'm recording this, that I can see when I'm looking at it. It's kind of wild. Okay, anyway, fine. I'll just be a little glowy. Little glowy. Okay, back to it. See what I'm saying? Like, I can go. Especially on Mercury days. I was born on a Wednesday, okay? A girl can flow. I love to talk. I love to chat. If you ever want to just chat, like, hit me up in the comments. Let's make a connection and we can have a conversation. I love it. I love talking to people and learning. I learn so much through others. I am a Libra rising. So, yes. And then the last planet that has resonance with the number 7 is sometimes Mercury through analyzing and study, which it's a mercurial day. That's why I'm so focused on communication. And it's just funny that 7 also is something that goes through deep introspection and study. But if I were to choose like the strongest symbolic feel, 7 often carries the blend of Saturn's wisdom and Neptune's spiritual mastery. Those feel like the most things. So being disciplined enough to explore the themes and give yourself the space and the time Saturn ruled in order to expand your wisdom and your knowing, and letting the spiritual mastery that comes from that and the mystery that the number 7 holds, bring that in. So the seventh house, let's focus a little bit more on that topic, because the seventh house in astrology represents one-on-one partnerships, marriage, collaboration, agreements, projection, and balance through others. This house teaches that we don't only learn through ourselves. I read that crazy. Let's see. So we also learn through attraction, conflict, partnership, and mirroring. That's a beautiful way to learn. I think the brightness is good now. Yeah, I can take it back. Oh. I feel like I'm bronzed, and I don't have on any type of bronzing makeup, but I like it. Thank you, camera. I'm very bronzy right now. So, let me stop fiddling with it. I'm focused. It's because the sun keeps changing, and I'm a sun child, and I love the window to sit here to do the messages, so it keeps changing it. Okay, but seventh house, let's find, and we'll get off the seventh house after this. The seventh house is asking, what are the relationships around you reflecting back to you? It's a great question to ask yourself. What are you learning through other people in your life? And what do you seek in balance in your life because you keep feeling certain experiences and things going on? This makes the number 7 not just a number of inward wisdom, but a number of relational revelation. It's revelation, not revolution, but power to Aquarius. What the 7 means in tarot. In tarot, the 7 shows up as a turning point in many suits. The 7 cards often ask for deeper truth, strategy, and spiritual alignment. I love tarot cards. I find them to be so insightful. I am usually more so in my own personal interpretation of the cards, but I do understand where some of the teachings and already set meanings of the cards can play into things. So, on that being said, the 7 of Cups is usually about the themes of illusion, options, fantasy, discernment. The 7 of Swords is about strategy, secrecy, misalignment, and self-interest. The 7 of Wands is about standing your ground, being of conviction and defense. And then the 7 of Pentacles is usually about patience, long-term growth, and the reflection on process. And in the major arcana, the 7 number card is the Chariot. The Chariot represents direction, willpower, alignment, and focused movement, inner control. This is fascinating because it shows that the 7 is not only about stillness and wisdom, it's about the direction yourself with purpose you're focusing on once inner understanding has been reached. So you're able to move forward with your purpose in the direction that you're meant only once you understand yourself. So knowing thyself. If we think of the Chariot also in tarot, that has a strong correlation to Cancer energy. And Cancer is the energy of the home space, the mind space, the place of foundational safety and security. The moon energy rules Cancer. It's the reflection of your actions, the sun, and the moon reflects the meaning and the emotional resonance of those actions back onto the world, on the earth, onto yourself. So it's so beautiful that the Chariot represents the 7 in tarot and how things are just so connected in life. And you can find meaning in so many of these connections. So it's the direction you're pointing yourself in to understand your inner world so that you can reach your goals. So tarot gives us another layer of the number 7. It's about inner mastery that leads to outer direction. Are you getting the theme that keeps coming up with 7 in all of these different systems, right? It's all about going within in order to understand what's happening without, and experiencing what's happening outside of you in order to have something to take within to understand thyself. It's beautiful. So let's move on to the 7 in spiritual systems, since we're getting a little spiritual. I mean, we stay spiritual, but it's the thing. I'm also very practical too. I think I'm a balance of everything. I do like everything in this life. So 7 appears in many spiritual systems because it's like a bridge number. 7 chakras. The 7 primary chakras move from survival at the root to spiritual connection at the crown. That means 7 becomes a symbol of the full journey of consciousness through the body. 7 days a week. A week gives you a full cycle of life movement, and then it begins again. So 7 also becomes a number of sacred rhythm. It teaches life moves in cycles, but every cycle holds a lesson. So the 7 as a sacred completion. In many traditions, the 7 symbolizes completion that is not purely material, not just done, but spiritually integrated. So it's not just about accomplishing the goal, it's about what did you learn in order to get there. Because usually what you learned is what gave you the push to actually get there. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to keep it going because this video is already 25 minutes. It's probably going to be one of my longest to date, but it's a Mercury day, so we're feeling gabby. To me, the deepest meaning of the 7 is wisdom, 100%. Not knowing just to know, so not knowledge alone, wisdom. Knowledge is information, right? If an idea is the spark, and then you expand that idea through experiences, relating, adding meaning to it, and you come up with a knowledge because you've accumulated so many experiences and meanings underneath that idea. So now you have knowledge on this idea. So it becomes information that you hold. Then once you know it, you kind of have to release that and go within and allow the wisdom of what you have just experienced to hold the space. And that's what the 7 feels like to me. It feels like the wisdom that was learned through the journey of having the thought and the idea, going through the discipline and collecting of experiences to create the knowledge, and then sitting within that knowledge and letting it resonate spiritually within you, who you are, aligned to your core, and become your wisdom. Wisdom is what happens when information has been lived, reflected on, and understood deeply. It's such a great place and beautiful place to be wise. Now, to be wise and to know nothing like a child at all is one of the best balances you can hold in this life. But to be wise is to also surrender to the fact that you know nothing and you know everything at the same time. So you don't hold yourself in a high regard because you have all of this wisdom. You're proud of yourself. You're thankful and grateful that you have wisdom, but you don't see yourself as being better than others because you hold this wisdom. You understand that it is a journey, and wisdom is the space that you're allowed to reside in. And wisdom can come from so many people. 7 is the number that wants to know truth through experience. It doesn't want answers, it just wants understanding. And that's why 7 can sometimes look like solitude and research, even prayer for some people, reflection, journaling, study, retreat, quiet. What does the 7 energy look like and feel like to you? How are you disciplining yourself in practicing the 7 energy? Because not all growth is loud, right? It's not always going to be something that everyone can see. Sometimes, actually a lot of time, your growth is happening inside and no one knows. That's why when you pop up and you show up and you're just like a brand new person and people are like, oh my God, who is you? Who is that? And you're like, oh yeah. And there's no overnight success. You've been building this. I don't care what anyone says. Like for me, personal beliefs, there's no such thing as an overnight success. Everyone has been building. From the moment you took breath, you're building and you're growing and you're obtaining wisdom. So you didn't just pop up and be like, oh my God, they just got famous overnight, or they just became rich overnight, or they just became the most known, knowed person, knowledgeable. That's a better way to say it. No, you grew into that. You're growing into it. So you're already wise. Know that. You're wise. So you're already working on the path. That's why you can tell yourself like, oh yeah, I'm a billionaire. Because you are. But that's a whole nother thing. I'm not even going to get into that because I've already gone off topic like 50 times and we're about to hit the 30-minute mark. So, because not all growth is loud, some growth happens when you pause long enough to hear yourself. Isn't that beautiful? When I wrote that and when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, you got to pause. You have to pause. The 7 in energy is about the pause, the space in order to hear and resonate with the truth that is yours. So when 7 shows up, whether in numerology, astrology, tarot, or in daily life, it often shows you to slow down, to reflect, trust your inner knowing, and seek the deeper truth. 7 is the number that reminds you do not need to know everything immediately. Sometimes your power comes from becoming wise enough to listen. I didn't even get in on the topic of 7 being the luck energy, right? 777, a lot of times they say is luck. But I think what was the saying that always goes around? Luck is just when preparation and opportunity meet. So that's 7 energy. When you are going on the journey of having a thought, an idea, having experiences that explore that thought and idea, and then getting knowledge about that thought and idea, and then surrendering and sitting in that knowledge and allowing peace to settle over you and the knowing to come and your wisdom to fall through. That is 777 luck. That is the knowing space. And once you're knowing, infinite opportunities, like infinite. I kind of feel like 7 energy holds a little Jupiter vibes too, right? I mean, obviously, like Jupiter, we've got 9s in Jupiter and 3 for sure, and Jupiter is creating that growth, but I can see 7 in it. And that's really funny because it's pretty close. So that's another realm for me to explore, but I'm going to let that idea sit and let life bring me experiences that expand my knowledge into that space, and I can finally have the wisdom of where that is. But yeah, I had so much fun having this conversation with you. I hope you guys made it through the end. I know it got a little splotchy and a little all over the place, so thank you for being here through my energy changes and evolutions. This is me. Sometimes I'm really like practical and structured. Sometimes I'm free flowing, and I just like to communicate. So thank you for being with me. I really appreciate you guys. As of today, I almost have 100 subscribers, and that makes me so excited because that means there are 100 other souls that connect with learning the way that I do and the way that I express it. They enjoy resonating with it. So as we continue to build our community of knowing, it's just nothing but joy. So write something in the comments. Let me know how you felt about the video, how you feel about the number 7, any personal experiences that you had where the number 7 showed up and what that ended up allowing you to know about your life. If you have questions about 7 in your energy, in your numerology space, in your astrology charts, hit me up in the comments. I do natal readings and numerology readings. We can dive in to the information. But yeah, like this video if you liked it, subscribed if you haven't, because I've had so much fun. And if you resonate with my energy, let's continue to learn. I'll be back tomorrow to learn something else, because I'm not just expressing what I already resonate and know about the number 7. As I'm expressing it, it's expanding my knowledge of it. I am one of those people that can read the same word 1,000 times, and each of the 1,000 times I learn something new from it. So me expressing this energy about the number 7 and what I know to you is allowing me to integrate the information even deeper in resonance with myself. So thank you for giving me the space and opportunity to learn and to grow. So I love you. I can't wait to see you tomorrow and see what we learn and get into. All right. Talk to you later.